Hey guys, this is Illusion PODFIC, and today we're going to be reading Baby Assassin by Candace Debuty. This is Chapter 4. The silence in the kitchen was brittle, the kind of silence that usually preceded a tactical explosion. Dick Grayson stood by the doorway, his leather jacket still cooling from the morning air. Eyes locked on Bruce with a mixture of grief and accusation. "I'm not here to fight, Bruce," Dick said, his voice dropping into the weary older brother register. "But you can't just—" "He's a child, Grayson. Your concern is noted. He's an al Ghul, B. You know what they do to children. You know how they—" A small, sharp thud echoed from the hallway. The three men turned. At the base of the grand staircase stood Damian. He was wearing a pair of oversized silk pajamas Alfred had clearly scrounged from an old trunk. They were dark green and far too long in the sleeves. His hair was a mess of sleep-tangled crow's nest, but his expression was pure, concentrated vitriol. He looked at Dick. He looked at Jason. Then he looked at Bruce. "The structural integrity of this household is laughable," the 4-year-old declared. His voice was high-pitched, but he spoke with the cadence of an ancient warlord. "I have been awake for 3 minutes and have already overheard 3 security breaches and a pathetic display of emotional instability." Jason snorted into his coffee. "Good morning to you too, sunshine." Damian's eyes narrowed. He took a step forward, intending to march into the room with intimidating grace. Instead, his foot caught on the hem of his oversized pajama pants. His center of gravity, mostly located in his slightly too large head, betrayed him. He stumbled, his arms windmilling wildly. Bruce moved before he could think. He didn't use bat reflex, he used a dad reflex. He lunged forward and caught Damian by the waist just before the boy's head met the hardwood floor. Bruce hoisted him up and tucking him under one of his arms like a disgruntled sack of flour. "Unhand me!" Damian shrieked, kicking his small legs. "I am a master of the shadow arts. I am a scion of the demon. This is a violation of my sovereignty." "You're a 4-year-old who can't walk in a straight line yet," Jason cackled, leaning back in his chair. "Your cerebellum is still basically pudding, kid." "My cerebellum is in peak human condition," Damian yelled, now hanging upside down as Bruce walked him towards the kitchen table. "I demand to be placed on the floor so I may duel the loud one." Bruce didn't put him on the floor. He sat down and placed Damian firmly on his lap. He didn't even realize he was doing it, the way he curled an arm around the boy's chest to keep him from wiggling away. Dick watched this, his jaw practically hitting the floor. He looked at Bruce, the man who usually communicated via grunts and shadows, holding a squirming toddler with a strange, wary tenderness. "Bruce?" Dick whispered. Bruce looked up, his expression guarded. "He needs breakfast." "I do not require sustenance from civilians," Damian informed the room, though his stomach chose that exact moment to let out a traitorous, high-pitched growl. He went stiff, his face turning into a bright, humiliated red. "That was a tactical deception." Dick's heart, despite himself, melted. He walked over, ignoring Bruce's warning look, and crouched down in front of Damian. "Hey there," Dick said, his voice soft, the one he used for frightened witnesses. "I'm Dick. Well, I guess I'm your big brother." Damian stopped struggling. He studied Dick with unnerving intensity. "You are the first, the one who failed to remain." The air left the room. Jason winced. Bruce's grip on Damian tightened just a fraction. Dick's smile faltered, but he didn't pull away. "Yeah, I'm the one who grew up. It happens to the best of us." "I shall not grow up," Damian stated firmly. "I shall simply ascend. I shall take the mantle of the Robin immediately. The current iteration is subpar." He pointed a tiny, accusing finger at Jason. Jason slammed down his mug. "Listen here, you pint-sized hare. I fought and come back alive numerous times. I think I can handle—" "You lack discipline," Damian cut him off. "Your scent is of cheap corn chips and failure. Father, I required the suit. The Kevlar weave must be adjusted for my current stature, but I'm ready for patrol." "No," Bruce said. "I am capable," Damian insisted, trying to stand up on Bruce's thighs and nearly toppling over. "I can recite the eternal anatomy of a human being. I can disable a man with a single strike to the brachial plexus." "Damian," Bruce said, his voice low and vibrating with the fatherly weight he was still learning. "You're 4. You still need help reaching the sink to brush your teeth. A temporary setback. You're staying in the manor. Bruce added. No Robin, no patrol, no duels. Damian's lip wobbled. It was a tiny, microscopic movement, but it was there. He quickly covered it by crossing his arms and scowling so his eyebrows met. This is an incarceration. You are a tyrant. I shall form an alliance with the butler and overthrow you. Alfred already likes me better, Dick joked, trying to lighten the mood. Damian turned his glare to Dick. Unlikely. I am the blood heir. You are a circus performer. Jason burst out laughing. Oh, I like him. B, can we keep him just for the insults? He's not a pet, Jason, Bruce sighed. Jason's laughter died down, replaced by a sudden sharp sting of jealousy. He watched Bruce reach out and absently smooth down Damian's sleep-moosed hair. Bruce had never been this soft with Jason. With Jason, it had been training and rules and don't do that, but with this kid, Bruce looked terrified. He looked like he was trying to handle a glass bomb. Whatever, Jason muttered, shoving his chair back. I'm going to the cave. Some of us have actual work to do. As Jason stormed out, Dick noticed the look on Bruce's face, the sheer, overwhelming panic of a man realizing he has no idea how to heal a family. Later that afternoon, the tension hadn't dissipated, but it had shifted. Damian had spent 3 hours trying to train in the library. This mostly involved him trying to do one-handed push-ups, falling on his face, and then shouting, I intended to test the floor's durability! At anyone who walked by. Dick found him sitting in a heap of dusty encyclopedias, looking exhausted but refusing to close his eyes. Rough day? Dick asked, leaning against the doorframe. I am hindered by this physical form, Damian snapped. My mind is that of a master, but my legs, they are treacherous. Dick walked over and sat on the floor next to him. He didn't try to pick him up. It's called being a kid, D. It's the only time in your life you're allowed to be treacherous. You're supposed to fall. Grandfather said falling is for the executed. Dick's expression darkened. He reached out and gently took Damian's hand. The boy's hand was so small, his knuckles dimpled. Your grandfather was a lonely man, Damian. Falling is how we learn how to get back up. That's what Bruce taught me. Father is stern, Damian whispered, his edgy facade slipping for a split second. He does not wish for me to be his Robin. He doesn't want you to be Robin because he wants you to be Damian, Dick explained. Robin is a job. Being a son, that's forever. Damian considered this, his brow furrowed in deep 4-year-old thought. If I'm not a warrior, what am I? Well, Dick smiled, right now you're a kid who looks like he needs a grilled cheese sandwich and a nap. Want to help me make one? I'm surprisingly good at the circus performer version of cooking. Damian hesitated, then stood up with a dignified huff. I suppose I shall supervise your efforts to ensure quality control. That night, Bruce found them in the living room. Dick was asleep on the sofa, his arm draped over a small snoring lump. Damian was tucked into Dick's side, his head resting on Dick's chest. A half-eaten sandwich sat on the coffee table. Jason was sitting in the armchair across from him, cleaning a battering. He looked up as Bruce entered. They've been like that for an hour, Jason whispered, his voice holding a trace of that old bitterness. You never let me sleep on the job, B. Bruce walked over and looked at his 3 sons. The one he'd fought with, the one he'd lost, and the one he didn't know how to raise. I made a lot of mistakes, Jason, Bruce said softly. Jason went still. He didn't look up. Yeah, well, at least this one won't have to die to get a hug. Bruce felt the words like a knife. He stepped over the sofa and carefully, so carefully, pulled a blanket over both Dick and Damian. Damian stirred in his sleep, his hand reaching out instinctively. He grabbed Bruce's thumb. The boy's grip was surprisingly strong for a 4-year-old. Even in his sleep, he was holding on. Bruce didn't pull away. He sat on the edge of the sofa, letting the tiny assassin toddler anchor him to the spot. I don't know what I'm doing, Bruce admitted to the quiet room. Join the club, Jason muttered, though he didn't leave. In the dim light of the manor, for the first time in years, the cave felt very far away. There were no missions tonight, just a father, his sons, and the terrifying, beautiful responsibility of a 4-year-old who thought he was a king, but really just needed to know he was home. Alright, guys, and that is the end of chapter 4 of Baby Assassin by Candace WT. Hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you next chapter.